Welcome to episode 304 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. And this is going to be the best episode ever. We are going to give our thoughts on Twistzs to FaZe, what's next for Kirby, and everyone's favorite segment, Clutch or Kick. Have a handful of controversial headlines to get through on that one. And of course, e-news to wrap up the show. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show sponsor in Alt. AltEsports.com is where you can check out their merch, including the 101 Burglars line, brought to you by your very own TCR boys. You can also pick up fresh E-United gear. Sentinels just dropped a line with them. They just put out their Alt Crystal Skull hoodies. There's a neon and black version. Yes, crystals. That's not just for fancy naming. It has over 1,000. Say it, Anuj. What's the word I can't say? The Swarovskis.
A Swarovski crystals.
Swarovskis crystals. I'm Polish. I should be able to say that, but
I might even be saying it wrong. I think that's right though.
But you get it. You get what I'm saying. It's the expensive crystals on your hoodie. Bling bling, as the kids say. So check that out. AltEsports.com.
Hey, my name's James, and you're listening to the TCR, you bitch.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, brought to you by Alt Esports. This is going to be the best episode ever. Follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring. Coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, February 3rd, 2021. The time, 9:18 p.m. Late as balls. Which Joey says in Twitch chat. That was a very aggressive open.
It felt a little, I was thinking it was a little aggressive too.
I'm hyped. I don't know.
I was thinking it was a little aggressive, Joey. I agree with you.
Maybe it's the late start or something. I don't know. I'm excited to. I'm just excited to do the show. I don't know. Sorry if it was an aggressive open. I'm just anxious. I'm anxious to get the show going. I just love talking esports with you, Anuj.
Or you had a long day.
Yeah. Yep. And now I'm all thrown off.
You got to introduce me.
Oh, my name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports, but alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my racially ethnic friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
What's up, dude? How are you? It is a late start. Like, later start than we probably had in a long time.
Well, you had internet issues, so...
Yeah, that didn't help, right? But everything is working again. Life is good.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
I have to call the internet company, which I just hate doing.
Yeah, I would rather change my internet provider and set up a new installation date rather than calling my internet company for help.
Here's a pro tip for all you young kids getting out there in the real world. Pro tip. Your internet provider will not tell you when they offer faster speeds for little to no extra money a month.
Sometimes less. Like, they do not care about letting you know that, hey, did you know you could like quadruple your speed for like 10 more bucks a month? It's like, no, I didn't. I did not. That would have been helpful information a year ago when you started offering it. But, it's like the same thing with cell phone providers and all that.
Yeah.
It's all the same BS.
So I would almost like, I don't know how often, but maybe like every 6 months, like semi-annual check on your internet provider's current services and what they charge. So I need to call them and get faster internet and I think it's like $10 a month, and it's like no joke, like triple my speed right now.
Yeah, same thing happened to us. We went from 100 to like 300.
Yeah.
And
We have the
price,
same internet provider, so I'm sure it's the same thing.
yeah, price didn't change really.
Yeah. Yeah. Semi-annual threat.
That is like good life advice, Tim. Like that's a good comeback from how you started. Like coming in, solid life advice. Call your providers once, twice a year. Get an update on that. Figure out what's going on. Make sure you're not getting ripped off. Like you're not going to learn that in school.
No, they don't teach you that. That's what they don't want you to know. Big internet company pays schools to not tell you that, but you will get that information here on the Centering Esports podcast. Your internet provider is not your friend. Not your
Shocker.
Friend. All right, so let's get into the dirty here. Do you want to start with Twistzs or do you want to start with Clutch or Kick?
Let's go with Twistzs.
Let's go with Twistzs because it is, I guess, somewhat old news in the sense of it broke before last episode, but we didn't really get a chance to talk about it and how we feel like Twistzs to FaZe and Caribbean out of the picture will affect that team. I think overall, and like I said, you and I have said it from the second the words came out of Twistzs' mouth that he's moving to EU, like you and I instantly were like, oh, like FaZe. That pretty much makes sense on every level. The team is used to a mixed roster. They're kind of his same play style, I would say. If this were a Clutch or Kick, which it's not, I would say Clutch because I really do like this pickup by them. And FaZe is notorious, I think, in my books for making pickups where I'm like, you're just kind of picking them up to pick them up. But I feel like this one might actually work out in their favor.
I think I can't Clutch or Kick it because there's another move that needs to happen for me to like this move. Getting Twistzs on any team is a clutch in itself, right? He's one of the best players in the world. He slumped a little bit towards the end of last year before he took his leave from the team. He is still one of the best players in the world. So any team that he goes to, it's going to be a boost for that team. Now with Counter-Strike, like any team sport, you got to have the right mix across the board. It can't just be the quarterback being the best player, right? And nobody else can step up. Now they do have coldzera to go with him. Obviously another like world-renowned player. They need that in-game leader. And that piece is Carrigan. And he's been rumored to like be going to them probably sometime in March once his contract is up. I think if that happens, this becomes like an elite level move. This is what I would consider an S tier move at that point. Right now, I would give it like A-, like just because of like where the lineup is. It's a little bit of an odd mix. I think Olaf.
Well, I mean, he's a stand-in, right? Like, so this is how I think you're going to see it in the next couple of months before, real tournaments start up. Carrigan moves in, replacing Olafmeister. Cold gives the IGL role to Carrigan, freeing up Cold, right? Which, in my opinion, in this broadcaster's opinion, the Cold pickup has not panned out, I think, the way they or anyone else thought or was hoping it was going to pan out. It's been good, but not like what we thought.
It's been very okay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's not been. I wouldn't use the word good. Like it hasn't been good. There was no success with him and Nico, the two of the best players in the world. Especially when Cold made the transition to that team, they were like considered, top 3, top 4 with Simple. It was really like Simple, coldzera, Nico. These guys have been at the top ratings for so long, and Cold is playing at like a 1 average, over like a 1.0 rating, and it's like it's not enough. You need him to be a lot better than that. Now, I think freeing him up from the IGL role will do that. Like the IGL role, say what you will about it, it takes a toll on your player performance. There's no way it doesn't. Like they've all said that it does, right? Anybody that's looked at, you look at Stewie that's made that transition, and I feel like it's affected his play when he's in the IGL role. We saw it tremendously affect Nico to the point where he left the team. coldzera doing it is not going to be much better. We've seen it. Really, Fallen is the one player that I can think of that in his prime, when he was IGLing, he was like could be considered the best player on the best team in the world. Outside of that, it's very rare. And so adding a Kerrigan to this roster would bring them the ability to just play what they know, right? Like they're not having to overthink when they're playing. And as an IGL, I would assume that's probably a pretty consistent theme, right? You're probably overthinking everything because that is your job to think. Yeah. And so I think if they add Kerrigan, this is like elite.
Especially for a struggling team, right? Like IGLing for a winning team, a consistent winning team is probably much easier and less stressful, right? Like IGLing on Astralis is probably a way different stress level than IGLing on FaZe, where you know in the back of your mind, everyone is talking about how your team is like the king of underperforming, right? Like everyone is expecting you to choke because that's just what FaZe does. So IGLing on them is a completely different vibe to where, you know, that pressure is on when you're losing that match that maybe you should be winning, where you're like, okay, now how do I prep for this, right? Because it's not even just in-game, right? IGL is doing a shit ton more work for the pre-game stuff, looking at strats and different scenarios. So I think if you just free that up, it would help. And if you have a natural in-game leader, right? Cold, I would say, is not a natural IGL. You got to free him up, right? Like, let him do his thing. Almost like with Simple and Na'Vi, when they tried always forcing him in different roles, and then it was like, guys, just let him be Simple. Let him do his thing. They loosen that up, and look, he's like back-to-back top 2 in the world for HLTV for 2 years in a row. So I do think the freeing, I guess, so our point, bring it back to Twistzs, is like it's the first domino, it's the first cog that needs to be fit in before everything can really start turning.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a move on its own just because it's Twistzs. Like, you bring an elite player over that's hard to do in Counter-Strike. Like, it's not like they're moving around consistently. So you have that opportunity to add him as a cornerstone piece for your team. And look, Olaf, obviously, during this time, it's going to be really hard to judge them until they find a full-time player. But I still have some expectations that they should, like, look good early on, right? Like, you would like to see, like, it just feels right, you know, them playing together and working off of one another, communication, like all of these things can be worked on until you get a proper IGL. But I'm excited. Like, I'm excited for this roster. I think they could still even improve if they found somebody for maybe even Rain long term, like maybe bring Guardian back and run it back for the 2015 Boston Major redo and bring that squad back for the most part.
Guardian, $1 million question, is Guardian on a team?
No, but he's been playing a lot, and he's been playing a lot, and so I don't know what that says. I would be curious to see if he wants to make a return. You know, like, he kind of slumped, I think, like right after he got married. And for those of us that are in the game, like, brother, you can understand that. Like, you can understand a little bit of a drop off. Now they've been married for, you know, over a year or two. They've gotten into a groove.
You think Guardian's wife was like, I didn't know you played this much video games.
Like, this is all you do.
Do you think she said the same thing our wives told us after we got married? Like, I knew you played video games, but I didn't know you played them this much. It's like,
yeah.
What, babe, what did you think I did when you left? Like, I wasn't reading a book.
It was probably a little surprising to our wives when they came into, like, our apartments back in the day, and we just had that one computer chair and everything was a pretty basic setup, right? And then fast forward like 7-8 years, and here we are, and I've dedicated a room in our house to.
Yeah, I got the nerd cave going.
So. Yeah, you got a Yoda 10 feet behind you.
Wives are dumb.
So to bring it back, move is great. This team's gonna be good once they get that last piece of the puzzle. Assuming they do it. If they don't get that, it's gonna be interesting to see who they get as their fifth. That'll mean the world. I would love to see them get an IGL somehow and take that responsibility away from Cold. I think that's the only way that we get Cold back the way we've known it, because he just hasn't looked the same. And look at how Nico has progressed on G2 since he's moved over. And granted, they haven't had the finishes, like the results that they've wanted, but he's been playing at a primetime level. He's going to be a top 3 player at the end of the year if he plays the way he's been playing. So I think the same can happen for Cold, but they're going to need to make that one extra move to get him over the top.
And on the flip side, for every player that has to be added, one needs to be dropped. And Kirby was the unlucky bastard on this case who was dropped. And I just wanted to highlight him because I know we've talked about Kirby a little bit on the show before through different roster changes and when he went on to FaZe, because he hasn't been on FaZe very long. I think he joined in August of last year?
It was August of last year.
Okay, so I mean, not entirely too long, especially when you think of a player break was in between that too. So, I mean, almost unfortunate for him in the sense of had it not been Twistzs, he would probably still be on FaZe. But again, Twistzs is one of those players where if they're a free agent, you go for it. Like regardless of if you're comfortable. That's why when we had Ryan on the show from Rush B Media, he brought up G2 and we were like, well, but G2 seems to be kind of trending upwards. And he's like, yeah, but it's Twistzs. Like doesn't matter where you're trending. Like any team is going to look at him and say, hey, will it fit? So unfortunate for Kirby.
You make it fit. You make it fit, right?
You make it fit. You make it work out. Kirby is an interesting case to me because on paper, he's washed up. Like he was GameStop stock 2 days ago, last week. Like everyone wanted him. He was the cat's meow, the bee's knees. We're talking former major MVP. He was the MVP for the Atlanta E-League major in 2017. And that was like when he was 18 years old. He's only 22. And yet, if you're looking at it, you're like, what happened? Like, where is the KRB from 2017 when he was on Astralis? Was that just being on Astralis? Because now he's gone from Astralis to North to now FaZe to now inactive. And it's like, bro, I'm getting worried for the public perception of Kirby.
I mean, ever since his move to North, he's never made the top 20 list. You know, he made it the 2 years previously on Astralis. He's in a tough spot because like I didn't think they would actually drop him. Like they had another option, right? Like Rain could have been the player.
I mean, you
that
have
they drop.
all
But I think Rain is also like pretty heavily invested in FaZe at this point. You know,
I mean, think of it, Sanuch. You got fired from your job when there was a temp working there.
No, but they were looking at that's why I really believe the Kerrigan move is happening. I think they're playing chess in this situation. They will make that switch, and maybe it's a role issue here of what they would both be playing, and maybe that you put the writing on the wall if it's like, hey, you know, Marcus, you're KRB, you're going to be moving positions and we're going to accommodate Twistzs in every way possible, and this is what he's going to play. Like I think they're just playing one step ahead and rather have Olaf stand in, keep like the team.
I mean, honestly, that's the only thing that makes sense, because why would you drop a player, whether or not he's been on there since August with a player break, so I think it's almost too early to even say his performance has been poor, because like, and I mean, although if you look on like HLTV, even look back from the last year on his end, I think his like ADR, his average damage per round is like 67.
What's his rating been since he's been with them? Do you know?
I mean, I looked at the last year and I think it was, I can look it up here real quick, but it was like below a 1. Not good. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, obviously you want to be.
But again, he's only been on FaZe since August, so
he's also been playing with that stand-in, right?
Right.
Like they've played some matches with Olaf now, and so it's not like that team. The team just hasn't been in a good spot. Like ultimately, this could be a good thing for him. Like there's probably a better suited roster for him. It sucks anytime you get dropped, but yeah, he's in an incredibly unusual spot. But I think he will land a team. You know, if you're thinking that he wouldn't get a team, that's definitely not the case.
No. I think he'll get a team. It's just when you think of former MVP for a major, top 20 twice, right? Top 15 once. Only 22 years old. That's the crazy thing. 22. Like, he peaked so fast at 18.
I mean, yeah, he came in as a rookie essentially and did what he did. And so I I'm excited to see where he goes. The thing is, I don't think he's washed up. I think he, outside of the age thing, there's still a lot of talent there. Like
Yeah.
8 months ago, he, like you said, he just got signed by FaZe, one of the considered the best teams in the world. And you're telling me, like, in that much time, it's diminished when half the time they've been playing with the stand-in, the other half of the time the teammates around him aren't playing well either. So you can't put that on him.
No.
Nico runs away from the team in the middle of their transition of him trying to get accustomed to what's going on, and you lose that type of player on that team. Morale is going to start to dip. So, and also his situation with North wasn't always the healthiest, right? Like MSL was constantly on the hot seat for like 2 years, it felt like, and that team would do well in the tournament, and then like the next 3 they would not even get placed top 8 or something. Like they had some really rough outings, but they had some success there. So he hasn't found consistency since he's left Astralis. But like, who has? Like, if you're not on Astralis, who's consistent? There's very few teams. Like Liquid is one of the few that you could think has shown a lot of consistency at times, and now recently obviously it hasn't been so much, but he was on an amazing team. He was able to shine on that team. Now it looks like he's kind of trying to find his way. He's having some of those rookie bumps not coming out now, but like he's learning to be in different environments, and there's still a good chance that we see him have a successful year. It's just got to be the right fit.
I have his up here. So in the last 6 months, his rating, 0.96, his ADR 69. Nice. Impact 0.90. So I mean, like you said, it's been rough, but again, that's just looking at him. If you look at the whole picture, I mean, FaZe hasn't been doing well. So
yeah, I mean, it's been rough, but like you say, yeah, look at the other players on that team. None of them had stellar ratings, and that rating is bad, but it's not like god awful or anything. So.
All right, so there you have it. Twistzs to FaZe, KRB homeless, but hopefully not too long. Look, and I know people have said everything about it. I know some people don't like him. I still would hate. I mean, I just get hung up on the 22 years old factor. Like, even you could pick him up and mold him. He could be a perfect, I would say, almost, dare I say it, 6th man. Right? I would almost see like Cloud9 signing him up as a 6th man, or hell, knowing Cloud9, they'll probably sign him up to be their 5th. But
shit, he could be a starter somewhere on that team.
So
it wouldn't. I wonder if they were thinking like, damn, that would have been nice if they announced that like a few weeks ago. I kind of wonder. Like,
well, like we said,
I don't know.
Don't put anything past Cloud9.
Like, yeah, at this point, would anything surprise you?
They could announce that he's playing tomorrow for them. So we'll just have to wait and see on that, though. But let's get on to everyone's favorite game show, Clutch or Kick. One day we'll have production value in music. All right, so this is a very original idea. Definitely not buy or sell. So this is Clutch or Kick. We'll go through some headlines of the day, of the week, and basically say if we are clutching it or if we're kicking it. Let's get to the first one. I think this was the most recent story that we have on the list. Anuj, Activision almost did something good, in my opinion. Activision announced that in most recent hysteria and hacking in Warzone, that they have banned 60,000 accounts. 60,000 accounts from Warzone. The question is, does it make a difference or is it too late?
I mean, two different type of questions there, right? So, like, does it make a difference? Yes, like, it helps anytime you're able to ban that many players from a game. But is it like too late? No, the game is like still so damn popular,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's Call of Duty. First off, it's never too late.
Yeah,
we've learned that Call of Duty fans are sheep. They will flock to it no matter what.
Yeah, it's like, does it make a difference? Clutch. Is it too late? Like kick, like in that sense, because for making a difference, like people are still playing this game, and they've played with cheaters for so long now, and they haven't stopped, and they're still throwing money at skins, and they're still, making a ton of content. Like content creators are thriving from content around this game, so they're not going to stop playing. I mean, I know there's been instances that they've said they would or won't create content around it, but for me, it's like the game is so freaking popular and people are enjoying it. And if they keep making new content, I think people will like continue to play until the next big thing comes out, right? There's always that transition game. So
Right.
that's when it would be to like if the transition game comes out and your game still has these same issues 3 years later, then yes, it was too late. That's when that too late becomes a clutch. You didn't do enough to keep your player base happy. So guess what? They're going to move from Fortnite to Warzone or whatever it is, and so it's not too late, but I mean, shit, I can't play the game. I just can't do stuff like
I
that
can't
anymore.
bring
Like it's just
myself to it. I haven't.
constant hackers, and it's just too much.
Even the like when the new Warzone dropped, I just never. I opened it up like to click install, and I couldn't bring my fingers to click install. I was like, I just don't care. I don't care about Warzone. But even just from an image of like a Call of Duty image, I agree. It's not too late because people will just, I mean, look, we've bitched about not having league play or any type of anti-cheat since 3 Call of Duties ago. It's just a rinse and repeat with every new game. So it's never too late on that part. And as far as the 60,000, I mean, that number is staggering. Staggering. 60,000 players? That is a ton of people. That being said, for Warzone popularity and how awful Activision is at anti-cheat and everything, this is a Band-Aid on a shotgun win. Like,
oh, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
You banned 60,000 yesterday. Well, 65,000 new accounts opened up today with the same exact hacks on them because there is no checks or balance system when, it's not like they're banning their IP. I highly doubt they have anything like, Valorant has where it's like checking files in the computer to completely ban the computer.
I mean, there is no cheat system. So they're manually going in and having to like ban most of these people, like that's the only way it's happening. So they don't care. This is like you said, like it's going to do nothing ultimately. No. They're all going to be back. They'll all have new accounts. It's going to be a rinse and repeat. A TP, former player and coach for Optic, got some stats run. Like there was some API tool that they could use to run it on his account. And he had a cheater or somebody that has been banned in over 1,000 games. It was like 1,150 games.
Yeah.
That's the amount of games he had. A cheater or somebody that's used some sort of like cheat. What it doesn't have to be aimbot, it can be wall hack or whatever.
It's crazy
in
to me.
Over 1,000 games.
I don't understand how with the technology we have in Nuge, like these scammers can call me and get like every information out there about me to try to fool me. And yet, like, we can't just simply create some type of thing to be like, hey, this person's moving at an abnormal rate, right? Or, hey, you have a 100% accuracy for 3 games in a row. Probably should make some type of coding to show up a red flag. Like,
you have a 40 KDR.
Right.
Like, like it's like stupid shit like that that's so obvious. And you're like,
hey, you dropped 300 kills this round. Maybe you're a hacker. I don't know coding, so maybe there's like someone yelling at me saying, Tim, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. But I would like to think if we're able to put a man on the moon in like the 60s, we can figure out hackers in 2021.
Dude, what do you think this game... Sorry, I'm going to drag this part of the conversation on a little too far, but what do you think about the amateur. What do you think's happening in the amateur scene right now?
Oh, I bet you it's
In Call of Duty,
dude.
they
It's
have
a
tournaments
joke.
going on right now, Tim. That like those like cash cup type things that are like 1,000+ team entries for the like in all the top amateur teams, like pro players are competing in this. Like it means something to win these, and these cheats are so easily usable in a
that's why
non-land, and like I just don't get it.
that's why anytime I see any reputable esports or anything out there saying like, "Hey, we have an esports event coming up. It's a Warzone event." I kind of shake my head. I mean, I get it, right? Because it's a super popular game, and if you're a TO, you're going to go with what's more popular. But I also just shake my head thinking like there is zero competitive integrity with this tournament. I mean, just down from the skill-based matchmaking that's involved with Warzone. We've seen people manipulate that. I don't get, with all the public knowledge that we have on how Warzone is just in generally a shitty competitive experience, casually awesome, but competitively shit. It amazes me that the esports world still gloms onto it. It blows my mind. Also, and we'll move on because this is a very long clutch or kick. 60,000 Anuj would get you the 8th spot on current players on Steam. So they banned enough players that could get you the 8th play. 7th is Rocket League at the moment with 62,000. So it almost gets you to the 7th game spot on Steam at this moment.
That's pretty crazy.
That is huge.
It's huge. I mean, like I said, that's why it's not too late, because they're not going anywhere. Like people are not stopping.
Yeah, right. Like you think if you can ban that many people, how many active player base and how many other hackers are still out there? It's insane. Almost as insane as Team Fortress 2 being number 3 with over 100,000 players right now.
Interesting.
I know.
I always like if they did something to like bring people back, I would love to go back to that.
I would play TF2 in a heartbeat if they just showed some attention.
Like I would TF3.
I mean, I still wouldn't mind. You know what? Not a bad community night idea. TF2.
That would be fun, actually.
TF2 community night. Maybe get a private server. Play some 2 for it. It's a free-to-play game. We'll make a mental note of that. All right, next clutch or kick here. Valorant has recently done a patch. Big thing here taking away from it is addressing a lot of things that people, especially Counter-Strike pros, have said about Valorant, is the movement mechanic shooting relationship. I don't know if you have the actual patch notes in front of you, but essentially they've adjusted now to how you can move and shoot at the same time, making it, I don't want to say, is it more difficult?
Yeah,
is that the correct
I'll read it
way?
off here. It'll be easier. So it says, we significantly increase the amount of air that all rifles get when moving and shooting to help combat the sensation of running kills with rifles. These changes will make kills while moving with rifles more rare, especially at longer ranges, but still possible up close. We'll be monitoring this closely, yada, yada, yada. So then they show the changes to the 3 different like levels of how they did it. And go ahead. You lead us off actually on this one.
Yeah, so I guess the clutch or kick here, is it a good thing? Is it a good change? First off, I think it's a clutch. I think it's an amazingly good change in a game where I feel like is already so polished in the sense of competitive play. One of the issues is I felt like Peeker's advantage was strong in Valorant. One of the reasons being is because they could like Need for Speed drift around the corner and dome you. And you're like, what the hell just happened? And it's like they're running full speed, jumping, pistol burst you in the face. And you're like, what? I've been holding this angle for like an hour. What the hell? So I think it's great. I think it's going to make it to where now you're going to have less peaker advantage. And not necessarily even less. It's just you can't whip around the corner like you used to. So me personally, I like it. I know some people are like, well, that might make less stylish kills, right? People like the whip around corner kills. I get that as well, but I think from a competitive standpoint, this is better.
Well, yeah, definitely a clutch. In their first intro video, when they announced the game, one of the famous lines from it is shooting matters, right? Well, shooting can't matter if you can run and shoot. Like that's not how it should work. Like that you shouldn't have that high of an accuracy. And so I hope that they tweaked it enough for it to actually matter. This could have been like a very small tweak and maybe it affects certain weapons. I saw, Vansili, I think, tweeted out, I think it was him, tweeted out something that he doesn't notice like a big difference on the rifles, but like he noticed a really big difference on like pistols and submachine gun type weapons, is where he noticed a difference. And so I'm interested to see how it's been implemented. Is it enough? Does it need more tweaking? But the fact that they're doing it is a major clutch. I think it's a big advantage to the CSGO players too, because it's a little bit more true to form in terms of how their mind is probably set. I don't think it'll affect them as much. But it is a good change. It is good for the game. And, I think this was actually a pretty good update across the board, even with the competitive updates and all that. So clutch all around for the Valorant update.
Next, clutch or kick, Anuj. EU amateur players in Call of Duty have leaked that the league will be introducing preset classes in order to remove the stress and need of GAs, also known as gentlemen agreements. If this is true, do we like the idea? Clutch or kick?
Major freaking kick. Like,
Really?
major kick. I hate the idea of preset classes because I don't want to see everybody with the same thing. Like, I want people to be able to play the game and determine like what they feel that maybe they're better with a particular weapon because of a speed increase or whatever. Like, it suits their play style better. I don't want to take that away from them to be able to determine like how many, what they want to run. Now I think they should do a better job of just balancing some items or setting a better way of making gentlemen's agreements to where there's like a true players council that are made up of like either, I don't know, I mean, you take a captain from each team or something, but something more like standardized there to determine the rule set. And look, they just need to do a better job of updating their damn game. Like it's so unbalanced in so many areas, and it's because the game is not built for the competitive scene. And I think they should at least do a good job of making like changes to the competitive game mode within the game. Like league play is coming out. That would be a good way to see how they're planning on implementing it. But I don't like the idea of like just, hey, these are your set classes. You don't have the option of choosing like a different SMG. Like this is the SMG that's offered to you.
So for me, I kind of have a different mindset. I almost think it's a clutch if they do it, and with certain caveats. One is, like you said, there's got to be a player council where they get together and they, this isn't just like the most popular players and they get in. Like you need to have players from all teams, all ranges, rookie, veteran, like you almost take a poll from every player in the league. The league's not that big. You can do it, right? Send out a monkey, what's it called? The monkey poll, monkey vote, whatever.
Yeah, monkey survey.
Monkey survey. Just send out a monkey survey to the teams and say, hey, these are our classes for this weekend. Which ones do you like? Which ones do you not? And then just say majority rule, and you take the classes that work. Whether, you might have 2 or 3 sets of rifles, 2 or 3 sets of SMGs and things like that. But if it's voted on by the players, and it has to be ever growing, you cannot go in week 1 and say, okay, this is going to be the set for the league, and then just ignore it. Even like I would say bi-weekly is too much, right? Like we've just seen it in Call of Duty. You just can't do it that way. It has to be ever growing, ever changing. The other reason why I like this, Anuj, is because we get so excited in games when it comes to like meta changes and, ooh, this has 150 rifle attachments. Imagine the meta. Imagine how each player can change the rifle to suit their play style. And wow, this is going to be so crazy and cool. But what happens? Crim6 gets like 1 quad kill and goes on like a 50 kill streak. And everyone's like, okay, Crim6 setup okay, gonna copy and paste this on my game, and who gives a shit if it suits me better? Crim6 just got 50 kills with it. Like, I'm gonna use that one because he's a pro and he knows better. And you know what? It's not just amateurs that do it. The pros do it as well, right? The pros see it's a monkey see, monkey do type world. Nothing wrong with that. They do it in professional sports all the time, and then you have to evolve. But that's why I think it's like, we've said
I just don't trust the developer enough, any of the developers enough to like line up updates with like league play. And the problem becomes then like the meta shifts really hard one way, or a gun is like becomes completely unbalanced, and how quickly is CDL willing to make changes? Is it player voted on? Like, that's so many variables that we don't know. So that's why I'm kicking the idea of it. But if it's done really well, then I would like it, right? Like if
I think
it's handled properly, I'm okay with the other end.
For me, it'd almost be easier just to say, don't do classes, just make the weekly GAs like official league rule, right? Saying, hey, you guys as a majority voted this week no AK, right? And then it's no AK. It's not a GA anymore. It's the league is honoring what the players want for this weekend, saying no AK.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? And even if you want to eliminate any type of conspiracy thoughts, don't let the teams playing that weekend vote, right? So that way you couldn't be like, if Dallas is playing Chicago and Chicago might suck with SMGs or whatever, and then Dallas is like, oh, let's ban all the ARs, right? And it's like, obviously it's a new system, it's a new way, but I think for years we've been complaining that the league isn't doing enough about GAs. So hopefully this is a nice little medium, mid ground that everyone can come together on, but it's Activision, so they'll probably screw it up some way.
And like COD pros are not easy to please, so either way, there's going to be a lot of bitching about it one way or the other.
Bro, Twitter
will be great.
Twitter and the subreddit, every week you're going, again, that's why I said the conspiracy thing. You're going to get it. Oh, it's funny that they banned this gun after Chicago lost because, this attachment did this or something. Like, it's going to be nonstop. All year long, you're going to hear it.
If you're looking for a good COD drama right now, everyone hop onto Twitter, look up what's going on with censor and accuracy at the moment for the whole blacklisting stuff. And so check that out if you're looking for some good Twitter drama.
COD always has some Twitter drama.
Always. It always delivers.
Always. Last clutcher kick on the list. Blast Premier will allow coaches to be in the room and to communicate with players, reversing what Valve planned. So Valve, I think, announced last week that, hey, we're going to adjust the coaching rule again a little bit. No coaches in the room, can't communicate.
Adjusted a little bit. They're not allowed anymore.
When they said, Valve was like, oh, this coaching bug? No, guys, we're not going to fix the bug. We're just going to not allow coaches.
We're going to fix the coaches.
we're going to fix it wasn't our fault. It was the coach's fault who cheated. That's a life lesson for you. That is a life lesson. But obviously with spring group starting soon, like
real soon.
Tomorrow soon.
Like this week.
I think the first matches are tomorrow. So by the time you're listening to this, I'm sure EU, they've already started because they're in EU. Blast was like, yeah, we can't all of a sudden change this. So they are allowing coaches in the room and to communicate. Clutch or kick on the idea of, I guess we'll do this. Which one are you clutching? Are you clutching Blast's approach or are you clutching Valve's approach? Because it's really going to be, that's really the two scenarios here.
Yeah, I'm rooting for what Blast is doing here. Clutch for Blast for me, because I would like to see all the other TOs step up and take the same approach to it, making Valve the odd man out and putting pressure on them to change it back, because it is bullshit. Like, these coaches invest too much time. Organizations are so heavily invested. Like, it's a really shitty move by Valve to not look at what all these partnered teams they're not partnered with Valve because they don't care about them, but like what these teams are doing for your game and the money they're investing to keep your game thriving in a bigger scale, to get it to a much larger audience, and they come out and make that announcement when every single pro team has a coach. It's not like it used to be, when some of the coaching issues happened that like half the teams had them, some teams didn't. Like you might have had an analyst kind of guy on this side, but maybe not a true coach. Like every single team has a coach. And so it's disappointing that Valve took that approach. And I'm happy Blast is, holding strong in this case, kind of like they did
For
with that
now.
Neon deal for 3 weeks. Like that was they know how to hold their ground, and so for them to do this is good, and I hope they continue down this path, and I hope other TOs do as well.
I agree. I love. So first off, I think coaching in esports is, to me, one of the more classic, underrated roles. I remember when I was a semi-pro in Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2. We had a coach, and it wasn't even like a professional coach. It was like my buddy who was the fourth, but then when we kicked him off the team, we were like, hey, dude, don't worry. You can be the coach. We really need look, man, your thumbs aren't that great, but your mind. We need your mind. Is where it's at. Yeah, that's it. No, that's what you did back in the days. You just made your friend who sucked the coach, right? So that's exactly what we did. But it was still, though, at the end of the day, like, so helpful in the sense of, whether it be calling out or in Halo, the coach had his clipboard with all the times for when the guns were going to spawn. And okay, you like managing ammo, because in Halo it was like, okay, you have one more sniper bullet. If you drop that gun, then the spawn timer counts. And like they kept track of all of that so the players didn't have to. And I didn't feel like it was any unfair advantage. It wasn't like adding or taking away anything from the competitive side of it. I don't know why Valve has the mindset that it does. Like, I honestly am confused. First off, this is only happening because the
advantage to have a coach. You wouldn't think it's a competitive advantage to have somebody in your ear telling you all the spawn timers while you're playing a game?
Not, I guess, yes, there's a competitive advantage, but Valve is stating like it's like ruining the integrity of the competition. Like, oh my God, like the game was not designed to have a coach. Like you having a coach is completely changing what Counter-Strike is. And it's like, no, it's not. I didn't feel like it was an unfair competitive advantage, I guess I should say.
Like in Counter-Strike, it's almost like less of an advantage than it would be in that Halo scenario you just presented, right? Like a coach in Counter-Strike, a lot of times is there to like not only like keep them calm during times of panic, right? Like how many times have you seen the coach step in and he's almost just like a cheerleader for the team during the matches,
just
right?
A quick
and
look.
then
look, Anuj, maybe we could be pro right now from our DreamHack days if I just had a coach to give me that one quick shoulder rub telling me it's going to be okay. Like that's all it takes.
That's all it is. That's all. No. But a coach is still like so vital in CS. But I'm just saying, like in that scenario,
right? They're not like actively like doing like managing the game or things like that. But, and you know what though? Even if a team figured out a way for that, look at football, look at hockey, look at professional sports. You have coaches that no coach is the same. Every coach has their own style. Some are old school, like Torts, and it's going to scream at you and get in your face. Other are very laid back coaches. They're a player's coach. Some are like Bill Belichick, where it's like, very by the book or whatever on how he coaches. I think that's like a beauty in the game that you're going to miss if you're like, hey, sorry, you can't have a coach active in the game. You can't, like, this to me is Valve covering up their own mess. This is Valve punishing coaches and orgs for having coaches for their own goof of ignoring a bug that was known by them for years.
Allowing this whole controversy to then stem up and be as big as it is now, right?
Yeah.
You could have caught a handful of players back then, 3, 4, however many it was before it was reported. Instead, you let it stem up into the hundreds and not even care, And you're right, though. It is Valve just being lazy. It's just a lazy approach. Like you're not looking out for the team's or players' best interest in that scenario.
And like their argument of like, well, I mean, right now it's like we have no way of monitoring that the coach is not cheating, blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? yeah, like, yes, you have ways to monitor if the coach is relaying information, but even if you didn't have ways to monitor it, or you did have ways to monitor it and you were, cheaters are going to cheat. Like, they're going to find a way around your way of figuring out if they're cheating or not, whether it be a light on the wall that goes on and off, or tapping the table a few times to let you know if they're going A or B. Like, it's not going to be foolproof, especially while we're on this online world. So I just think it's, to even do it now is kind of, and to have that point is
this
silly.
seems stupid.
Like, it seems so pointless to keep attacking the coaching role year after year, and then to now just to, I mean, pretty much eliminate it. I don't get it. They're there. Like, they're there in between matches. So then to all of a sudden be the match, and then Valve kind of close their eyes and be like, you guys don't have coaches. This was all made up leading up to it. All those other tournaments you had them in, made up. It's dumb.
And that question was dedicated to former co-host Brett. Rest in peace.
Former host Brett loved to give a backstory on why we always bring that up. I think it was like right when you and Brett first came on as co-host, the Valve originally made the rule of coaches can only talk during tactical timeouts, right?
Yeah, something like
and
that.
Brett, literally, when we went to ESL at any event, even like a year, 2 years after the fact,
like a long time
a
after.
long time, would ask every single player and coach, so how do you think the new rules of Valve's blah, 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 blah. It's like, it was his go-to. I don't have any questions. I'm nervous. I'm going to ask this question. But it was the same question for like a rule that changed like a year ago. And it was like, every player was like, I mean,
we like butted heads over like him wanting to ask that question. We're like, just don't ask that one. Like, you could ask questions. Like,
right.
We just need to move on from the coaching rule at some point. It was pretty funny though. That was like,
well, he's like, well, but I think it's a good question. It's a good question, Brett. We're not taking that away from you. Just maybe not right now. Like, not right now. God love him. R.I.P. Brett. R.I.P. All right, let's get into some e-news. But before we do that, let's tell you about e-news, a sponsor brought to you by Philly Esports. Don't let the name fool you. They are not just based in Philadelphia, but now they are nationwide. Online events, you or your buddies or some randos could sign up for their monthly tournaments. Right now, coming up is the Call of Duty 3-on-3 Search and Destroy tournament, February 6th, 12 p.m. Eastern. That is this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not too late to sign up. Go to go to phillyesports.net to sign up for their Call of Duty 3v3 Search and Destroy tournaments, Warzone free. So if you're like, damn, all these tournaments are always Warzone, you're in luck. They have a 3v3 SND tournament, phillyesports.net. All right.
they're getting big enough to where they might have to change that name.
Yeah.
Like USA Esports or something, or
I think there already is a USA Esports. I think they got shit on. Maybe not want to change it that, but yeah, you know.
America Esports.
I do love me some Philly, so maybe not. All right, looking at some e-news with CSGO, Twistzs to Nip already is done with FaZe. He said, F this, I'm going over, and he parts ways with Nip. Wrong Twistzs. Different Twistzs. This is a Swedish Twistzs. Twistzs and Nip part ways.
Yeah, I mean, Nip has kind of been on this roller coaster ride for a little bit now, so
He saw that rebrand and said, no.
I thought Twistzs would be
out.
a really good player on one of the Swedish teams, right? He had a chance on Fnatic and
okay, I
now
was going to say,
Nip.
is this the same Twistzs with... Listen, Anuj, if you could run the tape, if someone ever wanted to go back and listen to one of the episodes from this, I was so confident that Twistzs and Disco was like the future for Fnatic. Like, I was so sold on those two players. And you know what? I still think I'm right. I think the system failed them because I was so on Disco Doppler and Twistzs. I loved them on Fnatic.
Yeah, I thought like Twistzs, even on his Godsent days, they were like he was so good. and I thought he would like take it to the next level once he got onto one of these teams. And he had 2 stints on Fnatic, and neither really panned out. And now this one with Nip, unfortunately, hasn't gone well. And so here we are.
That's life. Forrest has announced on Twitter that he is expecting a little baby. So congratulations to Forrest and the missus.
That's awesome.
Welcome to our life, bud.
And now we know why you're probably retired. We can go ahead and
Yeah, you are
get
officially
him
retired.
teed off for the Hall of Fame over here at TCR.
Yeah, officially soon to be retired. That's also some breaking news for you. What's funny is so his announcement was like, I guess, baking a bun in the oven, right? So it looked like, so I thought I saw that on the message, our Facebook chat for the show. And I honestly was like, oh, Forrest is starting a cooking channel. That's kind of cool. And then like later that night, I pulled up the notes and I was like, oh, there's a baby picture. Like I just saw the tiny...
They do a good job of like decorating that shot.
Yeah.
Like I was impressed with it. It was nice.
I just texted my family.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yeah, guess what? So yeah, congratulations to Forrest and the missus there. And Acor signs with Mouse Sports to replace Chris J. Acor, former Mad Lions. Anuj, your thoughts?
Yeah. He's going to be playing the opera role. He's a really good pickup for them. You know, he's got great movement. Like he's, known for that. He's helped Mad Lions get into the top 10, top 15, wherever they were. They won Flashpoint 1. So he was a big piece of that. And I think this is a good signing, a good chance for him to prove himself. Adds a little bit of youth to this roster, replacing Chris J as the longest tenured Mouse Sports player. And, he's off to FPX now. So I think it could be an exciting move. I'm excited for him to have the opportunity. See if he takes advantage of it.
Former LA Gladiator Surefour in Overwatch League has announced that he will be a streamer for Sentinels. So he recently announced that don't quote me on this, I thought he was retiring from Overwatch and focusing on Valorant, but maybe that hasn't panned out as well as he had hoped. So now he is going more of a streamer, content creator role for Sentinels. Oh, I'm not going to lie, a little shocked at that. I don't know, maybe his skills didn't transition. Maybe he didn't care as much as I thought he would. But he was always a pretty solid player with Overwatch. So we'll see how long the streamer life lasts for him.
Maybe he knows something about that roster that we don't.
Yeah, I mean, very, very true. If you're a content creator for the org, maybe just slide right in there.
Yeah.
Slide right in. In Valorant, Fnatic signs the former Summon FC roster. So they Fnatic is in the game. We've always kind of teased that, when Fnatic enters in, you kind of know it's legit. So I guess it's official now. Valorant is legit.
We've been kind of waiting for that one to happen, right? Like waiting for that domino to fall in EU, and I'm glad they bought in. Like,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, yeah, EU Valorant is so distant to me. Might as well just be a different game.
Feels like it right now, right?
Very weird. Very weird. I just need to know. So in my head, NA Valorant is so far ahead of EU, which might not even be true. I might be being a homer on that one. I just need to have international tournaments so I know, oh, you are a legit team in EU.
It's almost building the suspense more for LAN, because these guys have all never competed against one another.
Right.
So these fan bases are really only watching the home teams, and it's like really hyping up
that
what the first LAN is going to be.
That first international event, there are no teams. It is NA versus EU. Don't get that confused. No one's looking at TSM, Sentinels, Cloud. No, it is NA versus EU for that first international
You need all your
event.
boys to do well then.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who wins as long as it's an NA team. In other news, Call of Duty news, League Play, they did finally put a date out on it. Next Monday, February 8th. So for those who are still playing Call of Duty, congratulations. You've are finally getting League Play.
To those of you that are still playing Call of Duty MP.
Yeah, right. Which is far and few between. Man, those poor bastards. And the CDL has also kind of been revealing their jerseys for this upcoming season. Looks like the teams are getting a little bit more customization allowed. They still look pretty generic in the sense of they were probably given options to pick from. But nonetheless, it's not the cookie cutter jersey that we had last year. So finally, the league is loosening up a little bit on this. Hopefully, we see the same in the Overwatch League to get teams a little bit more personality involved.
Let them just take over. Let them just do what they want to do with their jersey.
The cookie cutter jersey was the dumbest thing to do for it's like your esports. You're all about expression. Like the irony is like with the Overwatch League jersey last year was supposed to be like that new streetwear style and it's express yourself, and yet every jersey was the same. Like I don't think you guys understand what that means. But here's hoping. In other news, a nuge big for you. Your esports career can finally kick off. Age of Empire Liquipedia is out of alpha. Time to go pro.
They like dated this thing back to like the late 90s, I think, in their Wikipedia page. It's pretty crazy to go and look at some of the history of this game. But that is cool. Like, I'm glad that it's getting the continued recognition, and you know, I will be more excited to play this game now when the next one comes out. Like the next one's on the horizon.
We did play the HD. Look, I loved it when we did play it a few times. It's just we're adults now, and we just don't have the time that we did.
Dude, that's too hard. Like that would have to be a game that we start at 10 and pray that we finish by 1. Like that's the only time this
7 days a week where we could just say, hey, this night is Age of Empire night and WoW is for the weekend, then that would be a different story. But unfortunately, I get like 2 nights a week, if that, of uninterrupted time.
And WoW requires all the attention at that point.
It really does. It really does. Especially if you're playing with us and we make alts every 2 weeks with our group. But that's besides the point. Who do you think, what crowd do you think is...
Hey, don't use this one yet.
Okay. All right. Skipping the next one. Yikes of the week.
Do you know what? Yeah, yikes.
All right.
That's a good one. I want to talk about that.
Okay. Also, going back to the Age of Empire, what crowd is in more denial about their esports scene being dead? RTS or Arena FPS?
Which one is more like demoralizing, basically?
Like, which one do you think is more in like, oh no guys, we're good, this is a good scene, like we're fine here, this is where we want it to be? Like, yeah, back in the early aughts and 90s when RTS and Arena FPS was the thing, no, we didn't want to be mainstream.
Yeah, I'd say diabolical fans.
Like anyone who still has that game installed is just in denial that don't worry guys, and they're doing another $10,000 tournament. This is when we rise up. Arena FPS players, all 5 of you still playing.
Yeah, I think RTS still has
DDK and Slasher. That's the only 2 people playing Arena FPS.
I think an RTS game that's good will have like a very active player base. Like still, like, because it's built for literally everybody can jump into an RTS. Arena shooter, you still gotta like have the response time, and it's not for everyone. And RTS can kind of be a little bit more for everyone if you're playing people at your same skill level. Like it can be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah,
it's hard to do that in an arena shooter.
Yeah, so we'll see. Former Blizzard people making an RTS, so that's probably the next. If you're an RTS player, I'd have to imagine that's really the next on your radar.
Yeah, and Age of Empires has a new one coming out. They have their next iteration of this games coming out, so it's not like a remaster or recycle. Like they have a new game that they're working on.
I'm waiting for that next RTS just to captivate. Facebook.
Is StarCraft 3 that just get announced?
Wait for BlizzCon. They'll announce it, and then our kids will play it.
Hudson will actually be playing by the time it comes out.
Right. They'll be the beta testers. Facebook, in the efforts to combat hacker streamers, however you want to say that, they are demonetizing streams that are involved with hackers. Did that make sense? So if you're a hacker and you're streaming hacking, then they're going to demonetize the streams.
I just wish they would ban those streams. Like, isn't that what Twitch does?
That was like the #1 response to that, is like, that's cool and all, but why aren't you just banning them? So I'm sure that will be the next step, but nonetheless,
Yeah, like
at least Facebook is acknowledging it. Because like when YouTube first started streaming live, oh my, do you remember that?
it was everyone, YouTube had such a rough start because of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. You went to
Because
the
that's all you
gaming.
saw.
You went to the gaming section, and it was either skin scammers or hackers.
Yep.
It was no one actually playing games. It was just all hacking or scams on YouTube. And then YouTube kind of, you know, took control and cleaned it up. But, you know, Facebook demonetizing it. So all you 4 people watching on Facebook better not be hacking. Because, I mean, how much monetizing is going on Facebook gaming anyways? Like
enough to where they were like, we can't lose the player base, but we can demonetize
that's
them.
why, right? That's why
Yeah.
the secret is they don't want to ban them because they need the numbers, but you know,
They need a home, so there it is.
yeah. And last but not least, EA has announced that college football will be making its way back to EA Sports. So NCAA, whatever it's going to be, I have no idea. It might not even be NCAA, but they will be making another college football game. I think it's been
Long time.
2013 maybe was the last NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. I never liked them more than Madden, but I used to always really like the college football games. So I'm excited that it's coming back. It's not a game that I would get anymore at this point,
No.
but I know my brother-in-law will, so I'll get to go over there and play it.
2013 was the last NCAA with Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson on the cover. I'm with you.
Nice.
Like I remember playing them all the time, especially because like that was when I was going. So 2013, I was you ready to feel old? A junior in high school. So, I was like, I was on the hype train for college, right? So I was playing the colleges I wanted to go to. Now I'm old enough and know that this is just going to be another shitty copy and paste football game from EA. But for those kids who like it, congratulations.
Wait, 2013, you were a junior in high school?
No, I lied. 2003, I was a junior in high school. No,
Yeah.
2000. How old was I in 2013? I was 23. 23.
Okay, because 2003.
I would have been
This is how
a
old-
college.
This is old. 2003, I was a senior in high school. I'm like, wait a minute, that Tim's not that much younger than
No,
me.
no,
That doesn't
no.
make sense
2000
unless he was like
you wanna feel
really
old? Okay, so-
stupid.
To feel old, 2003, I was not even in high school. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Joey graduated, I assume, high school in 2012, as he says in Twitch chat. I graduated high school in 2008.
I graduated in 03.
So there you go. We are old. We are old. That's why when people try to give me references to YouTubers and stuff, they're like, "Oh, you don't know this?" Like, no, I don't. Like, my YouTube is captivated by nursery rhymes and baby bum. So, sorry, I don't know your latest YouTube craze.
Ours is Moana, How Far I'll Go. It's a hit in this house.
Bro, Frozen, my son loves him some Elsa. Love him
Lord.
some Elsa. It's got dance moves and everything. So I feel you. I feel you. Round the clock. All right. Well, that does it for this episode of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by altesports.com. Check them out. Check us out, tcr.gg. Our Twitter at The Center Ring. Join the Discord. The link is in the description there. Get heads up on community nights or whenever we're on, playing some. That's probably the best way to know is on Discord or something like that. And, of course, follow us on YouTube if you're not so already. youtube.com/The Center Ring. We will be dropping a new show next week, The Esports Advisors, giving Call of Duty League picks and everything there for those interested. But that's next week. We will be back Sunday night, probably for our CDL preview, if I am not mistaken. I think CDL preview is next episode. So get your...
Won't be on this Sunday night.
Oh, I'm
It'll
sorry.
be
Football
Monday.
Monday. So episodes delayed a day for the Super Bowl. But for Anuj, I'm Tim. Love you. We'll see ya.
Happy Super Bowl day.